Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. There is a specific reason behind me doing this film review. I don't know if you guys know this, but recently there was the Cannes Film Festival, and Sofia Coppola, who is the director of this film, The Virgin Suicides, became the second woman ever in the Cannes Film Festival to win the prize of Best Director. And that was for her film, The Beguiled. And I kind of want to talk about this a little bit, and that's why I sort of wanted to honor her in a way by reviewing one of my favorite Sofia Coppola films. But how amazing is that she's the second woman ever in the Cannes Film Festival? That actually puts the Cannes Film Festival forward in terms of gender equality, and the Oscars are behind the Cannes Film Festival because the Oscars have only had one woman ever. In 2009, I think it was Catherine Bigelow who won the prize for Best Director in the Oscars, and the Oscars have been running for a really long time. Of course, we do have to consider other factors, like not many women are directors. So anyways, let's start with the film review. The film, The Virgin Suicides, is actually an adaptation from a 1993 novel written by Jeffrey Eugenides. I can't say his last name, I'm sorry about that. Sofia Coppola doesn't tell you what to feel throughout the film or what to think. She kind of just showcases it all to you and lets you choose whatever you want to choose, which really adds on to the mystery of it all. So in case you're not sure about the plot and you need a bit of a refresher, here it is. The story is based in the 1970s, and it's based around this family who's very religious and secretive, and specifically these 5 sisters who are teenagers, all of them. I mean, we start off the story with 13-year-old Cecilia, who commits suicide. And although at first she actually fails her suicide attempt, I believe she slits her wrists, but she is saved afterwards, and that just sets off the whole film for you. Luke's lesbian, she's really popular at school, especially with the boys. You know, they think she's really good looking and stuff. And she starts dating Trip Fontaine, who's, you know, the popular guy. He's lost all the baby fat, he's really good looking, and he has a really stupid haircut, so I don't understand why everybody's going crazy over him throughout the film, but you know, it's the 70s, I guess. But there is certainly this conflict that we see between Luke's and Trip throughout the film. She does lose his virginity to him, I think, the night before prom. And they went to prom all together, all the sisters and all the boys. Trip and Luke's, they went to the football field and they had sex. The sisters, they all returned home because they had a curfew, whereas Luke's didn't return home. So we got this really wide sort of shot, kind of an aerial shot, making her look like a small speck in this entire football field. Trip has obviously abandoned her. I mean, at this point, I was thinking, oh my god, Trip is a fuckboy. I mean, he was admitting that he was head over heels in love with Luke's, but evidently, he literally just fucked her and left her in the middle of a football field. I mean, if that's not fuckboyish, I don't know what is. Anyways, from this moment on, her secretive family closed any kind of outside world communication from the girls. They literally take them out of schools, they lock them in their house. And you might think this is a reason why at the end of the film, spoiler alert, as if I haven't given you enough spoilers already, you might think that this is the reason all the girls kill themselves. But it's really not. I think it's something bigger than that. And the good thing about it all is that Sofia Coppola lets you choose different opinions on this suicide that is just so mysterious, and it makes you question what drove them to killing themselves. And I think in a way that is something that people question all the time when people commit suicide, like what actually drew them into doing this to themselves. Now let's talk about the colors that you can find on every frame of the film. I think that's really worth noting, and I really enjoy the fact that Sofia Coppola pays that much attention to such detail because it does affect your experience of the film. The hues of the film are more orange, bluish, greenish maybe, yellowish colors. They change through the progression of the film. For example, at the beginning, they're showing this like school picture of the Lisbon sisters, and we see this kind of artificial sunny yellow kind of color, and that kind of depicts the fakeness of their smiles and their school photos. In the scenes where we see the boys kind of reminiscing the girls, expressing their infatuation for them, which I think to some extent is rather stalky. In those scenes, it's a bit more of a pinky, warm orange hue. And that kind of depicts the lust that they have for these girls. But we can't help but notice the color of change in the scene where Luke wakes up after having sex with Trip to find that she has been abandoned in the middle of a football field. And like I mentioned earlier, it's not only the actual camera shot that makes her look like she is small as speck, but it's also the actual colors, which turn more of a pale blue. It just feels very lonely. You really do, as the viewer, feel abandoned like she does. And near the end, when the girls have died and everybody seems to be moving on, the actual colors turn more into a green color. And in some way, the actual color green sort of depicts the fact that although the girls are gone and we've kind of gotten over the sorrow of their deaths, their thoughts, their memories, they still haunt us. So that's why we get this kind of like spooky green in the frames. Just another thing that I would like to add about the camera shots, aside from the aerial camera shot, which I think is just wonderful really, we also get these far away shots, which in a way are a little bit unorthodox on behalf of Sofia Coppola to do, because that sort of disengages the viewer from the actual scene. However, I think that is just genius. And one example of this can be seen in the scene where Luke comes back home in a taxi after prom, knowing that she has totally skipped her curfew and she's practically doomed now. And she comes to the door of the house and her parents open the door and they're really angry, like super furious angry. And we're just seeing this from far away, making us feel sort of like an outsider. And this is not only in this scene, this is in a variety of scenes, which are there to remind us that just like the boys who are narrating this whole film, this whole story, we are also outsiders who are simply intrigued by these sisters, by this family who are so secretive. Once again, the way the film ends, it ends with this sort of enigma of these Lisbon sisters. We don't know what happened to them. We don't know why they killed themselves. It's sort of eerie, but at the same time, the way the film is actually executed, you kind of feel like you're falling in love with these girls, simply because there's so much to them. That film just makes you feel something that not every film makes you feel, and it's something that's rather complex. It's hard to understand. It's art. That's what it is. It's art. And art, you cannot tell somebody what art feels like, what art is. That person simply has to go and experience it for themselves. So that's the end of the film review. I hope you guys liked it. Make sure to give it a thumbs up. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe. Please do subscribe, especially if you like what you're seeing. Why not subscribe? And by the way, the next video that I will be doing is gonna be a little bit different from the videos I usually do, so I'll just leave that as a bit of an enigma for you guys to figure out, a little bit of a mystery.